Let's set the stage in a bustling city in the early 2000s, where the skyline is a mix of towering glass skyscrapers and older brick buildings, a place where ambition and opportunity collide. It's a crisp autumn morning, and we're inside the sleek lobby of Pinnacle Technologies, a leading tech firm known for its cutting-edge software and a reputation for being a tough place to land a job. The lobby is all glass and chrome, with a receptionist desk that looks more like a command center, and the air buzzes with the energy of people in sharp suits moving with purpose. Among them is a black woman in her late 20s named Aisha, standing near the reception desk, clutching a folder with her resume. She's dressed in a modest but neatly pressed blazer and skirt, her hair pulled back in a professional bun, her eyes bright with hope and determination. Aisha has spent years preparing for this moment. She graduated at the top of her computer science program, worked late nights on coding projects, and even built a small app that gained some local traction. She's here for an interview she applied for months ago, a junior developer position that could be her big break. But as she steps up to the desk, the receptionist, a middle-aged woman named Karen, with a tight smile and a judgmental gaze, looks her up and down, her expression shifting to one of barely concealed disdain. "Can I help you?" Karen asks, her tone sharp and dismissive, as if Aisha's presence is an inconvenience. Aisha smiles politely, her voice steady, despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Yes, I'm here for an interview at 10 a.m. My name is Aisha Carter." Karen raises an eyebrow, glancing at her computer screen, then back at Aisha, her eyes lingering on Aisha's modest outfit and the worn edges of her folder. "I don't see your name on the list," Karen says, her voice cold. "Are you sure you're in the right place? This is Pinnacle Technologies. We only interview top candidates." Aisha's smile falters, but she holds her ground, pulling out a printed email confirmation from her folder. "I have the confirmation right here," she says, sliding the paper across the desk. "I applied through your website, and I was invited for an interview today." Karen barely glances at the email before pushing it back toward Aisha, her lips curling into a sneer. "Well, there must be some mistake," she says, her tone dripping with condescension. "We don't just interview anyone who walks in off the street. Maybe you should try somewhere more your level." The words hit Aisha like a slap, and you can see the hurt flash across her face, the way her hands tighten around her folder as she tries to keep her composure. The other people in the lobby, mostly white, mostly male, all in expensive suits, start to glance over, some whispering to each other, others smirking as they take in the scene. Aisha takes a deep breath, her voice trembling slightly, but firm. "I'm qualified for this position," she says. "I graduated with honors, I have experience, and I was invited here. I'd like to speak to the hiring manager." Karen lets out a dry laugh, loud enough for everyone in the lobby to hear, and leans forward, her eyes narrowing. "Sweetie, let me give you some advice," she says, her voice laced with mockery. "You're not what we're looking for. Why don't you save us all some time and leave? I'm sure there's a fast food joint hiring down the street." The lobby falls silent for a moment, the cruelty of Karen's words hanging in the air, and then a few people chuckle, their laughter cutting through Aisha like a knife. You can feel the injustice of it all, the way Aisha's dream is being crushed for no reason other than prejudice, and it makes your blood boil. Aisha stands there, her face burning with humiliation, but there's a fire in her eyes, a quiet strength that refuses to break. She picks up her folder, her hands steady, and looks Karen straight in the eye. "You'll regret this," she says softly, her voice carrying a weight that sends a shiver down your spine. Karen scoffs, waving her off as if Aisha is nothing. But as Aisha turns to leave, There's a determination in her step, a resolve that tells you she's not going to let this stop her. The weeks that follow are a blur of frustration for Aisha. She sits in her small apartment, surrounded by rejection emails from other companies, her savings dwindling as she struggles to pay rent. The memory of Karen's words plays over and over in her mind, fueling a mix of anger and determination. But instead of giving up, Aisha decides to channel her pain into something productive. She's always had a knack for coding, and that app she built in college, it had potential, didn't it? Late at night, while the city sleeps, Aisha sits at her rickety kitchen table, her laptop glowing in the dim light, and starts working on a new idea, a software platform that helps small businesses manage their operations more efficiently. She calls it Empower Sys, pouring every ounce of her knowledge and passion into it, teaching herself new skills, reaching out to mentors, and scraping together what little money she has to get it off the ground. Months turn into years, and Aisha's hard work begins to pay off. Empower Size gains traction, first with local businesses, then with larger companies, its reputation growing as a user-friendly, affordable alternative to the expensive software giants like Pinnacle Technologies dominate the market with. Aisha builds a small team of dedicated coders, many of whom are women and people of color who face their own struggles in the tech industry, and together they turn Empower Sys into a force to be reckoned with. But even as her company grows, Aisha never forgets the humiliation she faced at Pinnacle Technologies, and she quietly vows to one day show them what she's capable of. 5 years later, the tech world is abuzz with news. Empower Sys has just secured a massive funding round, valuing the company at over $1 billion, making it a serious competitor to Pinnacle Technologies. Aisha, now in her mid-30s, is a rising star in the industry. Her name on the covers of tech magazines, her story of perseverance inspiring millions. She's in her sleek new office, a modern space filled with natural. The meeting takes place at Pinnacle Technologies headquarters, in the same glass-walled conference room where Aisha once dreamed of working. The company is a shadow of its former self. Years of mismanagement and failure to innovate have left it on the brink of collapse, its stock plummeting, its clients jumping ship. Aisha walks into the room, her presence commanding, her tailored suit a far cry from the modest outfit she wore all those years ago. She's accompanied by Maya and a few other team members, but all eyes are on her as she takes a seat at the head of the table. Across from her is Pinnacle's CEO, a man named Richard, who looks exhausted, his tie loosened, his face lined with stress. Karen is there too, now a mid-level manager, her tight smile replaced by a nervous frown as she recognizes Aisha. The air in the room is thick with tension as Richard begins to speak, his voice strained. "Ms. Carter, we're so grateful you agreed to meet with us," he says. "Pinnacle is in a tough spot, and we believe a partnership with EmpowerSys could be a game changer for us." Aisha listens quietly, her expression unreadable, but you can see the wheels turning in her mind. The memory of that humiliating day fueling her resolve. When Richard finishes, Aisha leans forward, her gaze steady as she looks around the room, her eyes lingering on Karen for a moment before returning to Richard. "I appreciate your proposal," she says, her voice smooth but firm. "But before we discuss any partnership, there's something I need to address." She pauses, letting the tension build, then turns to Karen, her tone sharpening. "Do you remember me, Karen?" she asks, her eyes locking onto the other woman's. Karen's face pales, her hands fidgeting in her lap as she stammers, I'm not sure." Aisha doesn't let her off the hook. "Let me refresh your memory," she says, her voice rising with controlled intensity. 5 years ago, I came to this very building for an interview. I was qualified, I was prepared, and I had an appointment. But you looked at me, decided I didn't belong, and told me to go work at a fast food joint instead. You humiliated me in front of everyone, and you made me feel like I was nothing. The room falls silent, the executives exchanging uncomfortable glances. Richard's face turning red with embarrassment. Karen's eyes fill with tears, her voice barely a whisper as she says, I, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. Aisha cuts her off, her tone unwavering. Sorry isn't enough, she says. You didn't just reject me that day. You tried to break me. But I didn't break. I built Empower Sis from nothing. And now I'm sitting here while your company begs for my help. That's the difference between us, Karen. I turned my pain into power while you stayed stuck in your prejudice. Richard jumps in, his voice desperate. Ms. Carter, please. I assure you, we've changed. Karen doesn't speak for Pinnacle. We need this partnership. We'll do whatever it takes. Aisha leans back in her chair, her expression softening slightly, but her resolve unshaken. I'm not here to destroy Pinnacle, she says. But I'm also not here to save you out of the goodness of my heart. If we partner, it will be on my terms, and those terms include a public apology from Karen, acknowledging what she did to me, and a commitment from Pinnacle to implement diversity and inclusion programs to ensure this never happens again. Richard nods quickly, agreeing to her terms, while Karen sits frozen, tears streaming down her face, the weight of her actions crashing down on her. Aisha signs the partnership agreement, but you can tell this isn't just about business for her. It's about justice, about proving that no one can hold her back, no matter how hard they try. The partnership with Empower Sis turns Pinnacle Technologies around, but it comes at a cost for those who wronged Aisha. Karen is demoted as part of the agreement. Years later, Aisha stands on the balcony of her company's new headquarters, a stunning building designed to reflect her vision of inclusivity, with open spaces and artwork celebrating diversity. She looks out at the city, the lights twinkling below, and thinks about that day at Pinnacle Technologies, the day she was told she wasn't good enough. She smiles, knowing she didn't just overcome her rejectors, she surpassed them, building something greater than they could ever imagine. And as you reflect on her story, you can't help but ask yourself, what would the world look like if we all turned our pain into purpose? If we all refused to let rejection define us? Aisha showed us that justice isn't just about getting even, it's about rising above, about creating a legacy that outshines those who tried to hold you back. So, as you turn off this video, carry her lesson with you. Never let anyone tell you what you can't do, because you might just be the one to change the world.